What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews. I've got 4 picks which I've put down that I'm going to take you through today. If that sounds interesting, let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.
Before we jump into the picks, we do have to recap the last day, and it was awful for me. I shared 3 picks with you guys in the last video. We go 1 and 2. VIP was even worse, -7 units profit. And I called out to VIP that my fall off needs to be studied. My bet tracker looks like a murder scene right now, but I don't know if it was the trade deadline that just happened with all the team changes or the upcoming All-Star break, but a lot of these games aren't going the way that I expected. Expect a blowout. It doesn't happen. A lot of the underdogs play really well. Yeah, just really weird. But at the end of the day, no excuses. The bottom line is that my bets do need to be better. For me, my straight picks are an indication of how we're actually doing. And that most recent day, they were terrible. So I'm locking in. I'm locked in. I spent a lot of time, a little bit more than I normally would. Hopefully, we absolutely cash out on these picks. But before we get to that, we do have to talk about everything that did happen. So I bet on De'Aaron Fox over 7.5 assists. And I'm going to call this out right now. That was an awful bet. It's one of the worst bets I've made in quite some time. And I say that because I normally do a good job avoiding plays with limited data. For those of you who've been watching these videos and this channel, I normally avoid players like this. I took the bait. One game Fox played with the Spurs, and I managed to I got hooked. I got caught on it. So that was foolish of me. I normally avoid those things. I regret that one. Joel Embiid, over 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Man, I don't hate this bet, if I'm being honest with you guys, but he was bad. That first half, 3 points at halftime, 1 from 9 from the field. He did play better in the second half, but not well enough to cash us out. So yeah, part of me is really happy that the 76ers lost that game. I also bet on Keon Johnson over 13.5 points. He had 11 points, 12 attempts, 33% from the field, 20% from 3. I didn't hate that bet, but it sucks. Some negative variance there. I also bet on Onyeka Okongwu to make a 3-pointer. I had a good read. I really expected the Atlanta Bigs to get some attempts, given how good Milwaukee's defense is down low. I picked the wrong guy. Larry Nance goes 3 from 4. This guy, this African guy off the bench, goes 1 from 5 from deep. I just needed 1 from Okongwu. That was close to plus money as well. But look, I probably got too cute with the look, if I'm being honest with you. And I took Kelly Oubre under 13.5 points. I got hooked on that. He finished at 14. His shot volume with PG, Maxey, and Embiid in the lineup, it's not there. The matchup was awful as well, but he benefited from Joel Embiid sucking ass in the first half. Like, he's got 12 points in that first half. Embiid only has 3. He only scores 2 points in the second half when Embiid decides to play ball. But look, I didn't hate the bet. I'll definitely be running it back in the future. And then I bet on Tosan from the Brooklyn Nets over 7.5 points. He has 5 points in that game. He shoots 1 from 6. He missed 3 layups. Again, it's not a bad bet. He just didn't shoot very well. I'm satisfied with that one. I'm honestly not too mad about that. A couple of winners, Dyson Daniels, rebounds and assists. The wagon continues. Isaiah Collier, he's a wagon for a lot of people. Cash his points and assist prop. I also hit a value play for him as well. But after reviewing everything, I'd probably say the 2 bets that I'm not happy with. There's only 2. I regret the Fox bet, which is clear, and the Okongwu bet. I think I got too cute with it. I shouldn't have taken that one. But outside of that, the reads were pretty good despite them all losing. Before we jump into the picks, though, I do want to address something because I mentioned something in the last video and the comment section blew up about it. I spoke about how only hitting opening lines can end up in your account being restricted. Now, I just want to clear something up. Just because you bet opening lines, it doesn't mean your account's going to be restricted. It's definitely one thing that books look at. They look at your plus EV, your closing line value, obviously your win rate, your staking, all those types. There's a lot of things that they look into. Ultimately, if you're a winning bettor and you're always beating the closing line and you are winning money off the books, they're going to find a way to restrict you. I've had at least 10 to 12 people from VIP reach out to say, hey, my books restricted me. What can I do about it? And it sucks. They caught the winning trend on VIP, made a ton of money in a short amount of time, and the books flagged it and ultimately restricted their account. And I want to show you what that looks like because I just had my account restricted as well. So this is not a value play that I'm running. This is just an example. So I would normally play $50 on each of these, $10 on all of them combined, and then I would run a doubles combo at $25. So I'd stake $235 on a set like this. When I go to place the bet now, it says your stake exceeds the maximum allowed. So if I update the stakes, you can see it right here. They're only allowing me to put $2 on each of these value plays, $1 on the parlay, and 75 cents on the doubles combo. And this is what a restricted account looks like. This just happened to me recently, which is probably why my headspace hasn't been the best. But yeah, I just want to show that to you and prove to you that it is real. It does happen. I don't always smash opening lines. If anything, I only hit lines somewhat early because I need to create the content for you. Like, I need to create the content at least 12 hours before the game starts. So it sucks. The pivot for me, probably wait until closer to game time. That's a good tip. Wait till closer to game time to submit your bets. If you're worried about being restricted, if you're doing quite well. But yeah, I just want to show you that it is real. But just because you're betting opening lines, it doesn't mean you're going to be restricted. Like, if you're absolutely killing the books and you're making a ton of cash, then yeah, you might be on the radar. But if you're not, and you're just a casual bettor who hits opening lines, does a ton of parlays, whatever, you'll probably survive just fine. But I just want to show that all to you. Now let's get into these picks because I'm talking for way too long. Jumping into props madness first. This is the best tool you are going to find if you like betting on NBA player props. It just keeps getting better and better as the season progresses. You can also use this on the WNBA. Once the NBA is finished, go ahead and check it out. 7-day free trial. Plus, you'll get 25% off when you use the code DAFT when you sign up. The first pick that I am taking you through, though, is in this Boston Celtics versus New York Knicks. And I'm rolling with Jaylen Brown today. Over 21.5 points. Now, he's projected to play 35 minutes in this game. The spread, it's 2.5 points. So we should not see a blowout. I'm not guaranteeing that, but we shouldn't see a blowout. Now, I want to look at his minutes real quick. Let's look at minutes between 33 and 37. I think that's gives us a fair range. Some sample size of data. And if we look at the matchup here, we can see part of it is a good matchup. The Knicks bottom 10 in the league in terms of points allowed in transition. So I want to add that filter. So we're going to DPT. And if we just look at the bottom half of the league, we don't have to get too crazy with it. With his minutes range at the bottom, against the bottom half of the league, he's over this line in 6 out of 9 games, averaging 23.1 points. So that's all nice. Another reason I like this bet is his form without Drew Holiday is ridiculous. Like, it's too good for me to ignore. So there's no Drew Holiday today. And without Drew Holiday, you can see here, Jaylen Brown over this line in 8 out of 8 games, averaging 29 points per game. He's been an absolute animal. Now, one thing to call out here is Kristaps Porzingis was missing from a lot of these games, but even with Porzingis, he's got a 3-game sample with Porzingis without Drew Holiday, 28, 23, and 25 points, covering this line every single time, still averaging 25 points per game. His versus New York Knicks once this season scored 23 points back in October, but he did that in 30 minutes. It was a blowout. The Celtics absolutely pumped them. And Jaylen Brown, he should play more minutes, should get more opportunities. Probably takes a similar amount of shots, if I'm being honest with you, about 18 to 20. And if he does, I love him to score 21.5 points. Let's go. Jaylen Brown. I do like his over. That's my first pick. My next one, we're heading to the Warriors versus Chicago Bulls. And we're rolling with this fella, Matas Buzelis. Now, I bet on him back on this game against the Miami Heat, but I only bet on him for 15 points. Should have took him for more. Didn't touch him against the Minnesota Timberwolves, given it was a tough matchup, and he still performed anyway. But he's up against the Golden State Warriors today. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at his 3-point prop. I'm taking him for over 1.5 3-pointers made. Now, he's projected to play 27 minutes this game. So I want to look at ranges where he plays at least 22 minutes. So that gives us some more recent sample size as to what the hell's been happening, given the way that roster is formed. Now, the reason why I like this play is not only is the hit rate good, 7 out of his last 10 averaging 2 3-pointers made when he gets this amount of minutes. The matchup is fantastic when it comes to him hitting some threes. Firstly, if we look at the shot zones, we can see here Buzelis, 23% from this corner, 8% from this corner, 31% of his points coming from the corner, and then 20% above the break. If you look at the Golden State Warriors defense, they do limit points above the break quite well, but they are well below average when it comes to defending the corners. So I do like his opportunity to get some good looks down in the corner. The Warriors also allow the 3rd most points to spot up shooters. So I'm loving that. And we can apply that filter in this graph to see how does he perform in these types of matchups. So going to head over to Buzelis. This is the spot up shooting rankings. And if we just look at the weaker teams, so the bottom half of the league, when he gets this subset of minutes, check this out. Now that he's got weaker matchups, he's over this line in every single game when he plays over 22 minutes, and he's up against the bottom half of the league when it comes to points allowed to spot up shooters. The Warriors, bottom 3 in the league. So I do like him for over 2. I toyed around with the idea of taking him for 3, but yeah, I think I'll settle for the 2 and kick myself in the face if he happens to make 3. But I like Buzelis here. He's going to get the minutes. The matchup is nice for him to get some wide open threes. and hopefully he delivers today. He probably takes 4 to 5 attempts, so we need him to shoot a pretty good percentage here. So Buzelis, I like him for over 1.5 3-pointers made. My next pick, we're going back to the Boston Celtics versus the Knicks game, and I'm looking at Jalen Brunson today. I do like he's over 26.5 points, so he's projected to play 37 minutes. So we're going to look at a filter where he plays at least 34 minutes. And I also wanted to look at the matchup type. So looking at Jalen Brunson here, you can see it right here. The Boston Celtics allow the 4th most points to pick and roll ball handlers. They also allow the 2nd most points to isolation scorers, which is Jalen Brunson's 1st and 2nd most dominant play type. If we look at the scoring zones, we can see here Jalen Brunson likes to get in the paint, bit of mid-range, and above the break. If you look at the Boston Celtics, give it up at an average amount above the break. They get murdered in the mid-range. And this paint area where Jalen Brunson loves to score, they're bottom 10 in the league. So all those things you can actually put into the graph, and that's what we're going to do today. Let's start cooking. So firstly, we want to look at the bottom half of the league in terms of defending the pick and roll. We want to look at the bottom half of the league in defending isolation. And we want to look at the bottom half of the league in his favorite shot zone. So basically what I'm saying here is in similar types of matchups, Jalen Brunson's gone over this line in 5 out of 8 games, averaging 30 points per game. So in this matchup, he should see great volume. The only thing we need here is a good shooting percentage, I believe, for Jalen Brunson. The other thing we need to look at is their last head-to-head matchup earlier this season. Boston Celtics blew them out. Jalen Brunson scores 22 points in 25 minutes. Had he played the 35 he was probably projected for, he covers his 26.5 easy. He was quite efficient that night, but the Knicks absolutely sucked. So this game, 2.5 point spread being played in New York. So hopefully the home crowd keeps the Knicks up, keeps them close. Jalen Brunson gets his minutes. I think he's covering this line, 26.5. You can lock that in. And my last pick I want to take you through is in this Pelicans versus Sacramento Kings game. And we are looking at my man CJ McCollum. And I'm taking him for over 2.5 3-pointers today. Now, CJ McCollum got an excellent matchup here. So this Sacramento Kings team, they give up a ton of threes. 10th most 3-pointers allowed. They give up the 5th most points above the break. And that's what we're really targeting today in this matchup. If we look at the bottom 15 teams, how CJ McCollum is performing against the bottom 15 teams at defending above the break, check this out. 16 out of 20 games this season, he's gone over this 3-point line, averaging 4 3-pointers made per game. He played the Kings earlier this season in December. He had 6 3-pointers from 11 attempts in that game. Now, I'm not expecting him to get 6, but man, do I like him to get 3. The Kings allow the most points to spot up shooters as well. And now that Zion's in the mix, I think there could be even more spot opportunities for CJ McCollum here. So that's a real straightforward one. Very easy one to find. It might be a popular pick out there. I'm not too sure. But I do like CJ McCollum to make it rain today. Over 2.5 3-pointers made against the Sacramento Kings. Pump of the breaks, as we always do. I ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment down below for the algorithm. Hopefully we cash out today. The last couple of days had been tough, but I do like this set of games. I do feel a little bit more confident about it. Let's see how we go. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what bets you have. I might be able to tell some of those, but put some comments down below. Let's push this video out. Now, I'll take you through a couple of leans. I don't have too many. Ultimately, what I found, I liked enough to bet, but let's see what we can do. We'll flick through each game real quick, and hopefully I can give you some value and some insights that you probably haven't thought of. Let's go. All right, Rockets versus Mavericks. What are my thoughts here? I was fighting every single urge in my body not to bet on Anthony Davis, but I do like Anthony Davis to score some points today. He's beat up on the Houston Rockets earlier this year, really, in January. Scored 30 points in that game. I get it, new team, all that type of jazz, but I think he's out to prove himself. Everyone's talking about how big a loss Luka is. Anthony Davis is going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder, first game in Dallas as well. I really do like it, but me being conservative, I'm not betting on someone where we've got no data, no sample size in his new team, new environment, but the narrative makes sense for me. I do like Anthony Davis to have a big game today. Now, Kyrie Irving, he's got an excellent matchup to score against Houston today. They give up the 2nd most points to pick and roll ball handlers, 4th most points to isolation scorers, right? That's how Houston plays defense. Kyrie, a little bit unselfish, doesn't fall into that trap. Last time he played Houston, he only scored 16 points. He only took 13 shots, and Luka wasn't even playing in that game. I don't think I don't think Kyrie's going to force the shots today. I think he'd happily give the ball up to Anthony Davis. He's just that type of guy. So even though Kyrie's got a great matchup, I'm not betting on it today. I think he feeds the beast. Anthony Davis gets busy with it. What else do we have? For this Houston Rockets team, do I have any angle on these guys? I did consider betting on Dillon Brooks, if I'm being honest with you guys. Now, Dillon Brooks, scorched the Mavs so far this year, 17 and 19 points against them. In terms of matchup, it's a pretty good one. The Mavs, 8th most points allowed to spot up shooters. That's where Dillon Brooks scores 37% of his points, gets them in the post. They're pretty good defending the transition points, but Dillon Brooks has cooked them. The matchup makes sense. I didn't love it as much as the other bets, so I chose not to take it. But, it could be something if I get desperate, but I doubt that I do get desperate. This is the first game on the slate. But Dillon Brooks, I did lean to his over for his points. Let's jump into the next one. We got the Pacers versus the Lakers. Austin Reeves, his line is sky high. No LeBron in this game. Obviously, AD's not there. Luka's still smashing some cheeseburgers. Now, you're probably going to find a lot of people betting unders for Austin Reeves, and that's because he's gone under most of the games this year, 25 out of 27 games. But we haven't seen too many games without LeBron, without AD. We haven't seen any, if I'm being honest with you. So we don't know what Austin Reeves is going to do with all this extra usage. Is it 10 assists? Is it 30 points? We don't know. So I'm staying away from it completely. His matchup to score points is not bad. Similar types of players have absolutely killed the Pacers. But if you look at his assist prop, that's at 8.5. Like, one of these lines is way too high. That's what I'm going to say. But Austin Reeves, I'm not touching that. Mark Williams, this might be a popular play, right? Mark Williams has been killing it this season, especially since he started seeing a full set of minutes. He's just been traded. He's coming back off an injury. I think a lot of people are going to bet he's over today. He's got a good matchup to score points against the Pacers. No Miles Turner. I get all that. I've checked the projections, though. Mark Williams is not projected to play many minutes. He looks like he's going to split the minutes with Jackson Hayes in his first game based on the projections. And when I ran the numbers of him playing 24 minutes or less, he's under this line in every single game. So I'm not rolling the dice here on Mark Williams in his first game. I wouldn't have done it anyway, but sharing this insight with you just in case he happens to shit the bed and you're like, oh, Mark Williams sucks. You were killing it for the Hornets. You're doing nothing for the Lakers. Well, the projections don't have him playing as many minutes as he was playing in the Hornets, not just yet anyway. So wanted to call that one out for you. Outside of that, got not too much on the Knicks. I mean, not the Knicks, on the Pacers. Can't believe I'm still thinking about the Knicks. Spurs Magic, I got nothing in this game. These matchups sucks. De'Aaron Fox, I did consider the over in his points, if I'm being honest with you. 20.5 points. He's got a decent matchup to score. He scored 20 plus in his last 2 games. He is on a back-to-back. On back-to-backs, he's been somewhat inconsistent. Hasn't versed Orlando yet this season. De'Aaron Fox hurt my feelings today, but I kind of do that to myself. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait on De'Aaron Fox, get more data. The line is low. I get it. He's capable of a lot. But Orlando, a pretty good defensive team. I don't know if Fox can deliver on a back-to-back. I also considered betting on Wendell Carter Jr. He just killed it against the Nuggets. This Spurs team, he's got a great matchup to score points on. The centers have been eating Wemby alive again. Similar types of players, 6 of the last 8 have gone over. He's got a great matchup to score some points here. I just don't want to take the bait. What if it's only the one game against the Nuggets where he plays good? Like, he's relatively inconsistent here, Wendell Carter Jr. Maybe if we look at games with Franz, with Banchero, yeah, it doesn't get much better. Like 6 out of 13. If we look at easy matchups, does he play good? He does, actually. Well, okay. Might be able to talk myself into this. So, let's do this. This is the pick and roll defense, right? The San Antonio Spurs allow the 7th most points to the pick and roll man. These are the games where he's played the bottom 10 teams in defending the pick and roll man with Banchero and Franz in the lineup. Wendell Carter Jr. averaging 12.6 points per game, covering this line in 4 out of 5. I just want to take a minutes real quick. 32, 28, 32, 20, and 26. All right. So here's why I'm not going to take it then. He's projected to play about 26 minutes off the bench. So he's not going to play as many minutes as he did in these games. He'll play the same amount of minutes he played against Denver. But against Denver, he was 7 for 9. He was like really efficient. And I think it's probably easier to score in Jokic than it is to score in Wemby. I'll just say that. So Wendell Carter Jr., I almost talked myself into a bet I wasn't expecting. Atlanta versus the Wizards. What do we have? Jordan Poole. He's got a great matchup. He's so inconsistent these days, but he just dropped 45 on the Cavs. Could have a slow game. I do lean to his over. Similar types of players have killed the Hawks. He's killed the Hawks. 3 consecutive games over this line. That's a really straightforward look. Who else do we have? Dyson Daniels, rebounds and assists. Now, I just bet this against the Bucks, and it came home. He delivered. So he's been killing it. Check it out. His rebounds and assists. He's over this in 8 of his last 9 games. He's been killing it. I'm not betting it today, though, despite the matchup being great. He's projected to play a little bit less minutes than he did against Milwaukee. He is on a back-to-back. I think Atlanta going to their bench a little bit more. I think he can still cover it in less time, But knowing he's going to play less minutes, it does worry me a little bit. But yeah, I still lean to the over there for Dyson Daniels. But just knowing he's going to play a little bit less worries me. Warriors versus the Bulls. We've got Steph Curry and his assists. So the Bulls, everyone knows it. They give up a ton of assists to guards, right? Steph Curry had 7 assists against them last time, 17 potentials, only 31 minutes played. So he'll play enough minutes to cover this line for sure. The reason why I'm not taking it is that the odds for this bet suck. I'm not going to swallow that much juice, but I do like Steph Curry to cover his assist. What else do we have? Outside of that, I don't want to touch anything on the Warriors. Jimmy Butler looks like he's going to play his first game, so I don't know how that's going to look. Blazers versus the Wolves. I couldn't really find anything I like in this. Anthony Edwards been a beast as of late. His matchup to score some points is pretty good. Has he played the Blazers this season? He has 37, 26, and 24 points. So the volume has always been there when he plays the Blazers. You're really just praying for some good percentages. So I think Anthony Edwards gets busy. I think he keeps scoring. Look, 2 games with 40 plus. You'd be crazy not to play him at 35 or 40, right? Like maybe just a little bit. So Anthony Edwards, I don't mind that. That's a decent look. And yeah, for the Blazers, nothing really caught my attention. Thunder versus the Grizzlies. This is going to be a close game by the looks of it. It's a 1.5 point spread here. Well, it's a 2 point spread now. More money coming in for OKC. But Jaren Jackson Jr. has been on a bit of a tear. 3 straight games scoring 30 plus points. But his matchup is somewhat difficult. So best of luck to him. The OKC weak point is spot up shooting. Jaren Jackson Jr. been drilling a lot of 3-pointers, actually. Check this out. 7, 3, 4. What's his 3-point line? His 3-point line is 1.5. So Jaren Jackson Jr. to get 3 is going to be plus money for sure. And he's feeling himself right now. OKC, I get it. They don't give up too many 3-pointers. They give up a lot of attempts. Makes, probably not so much. But Jaren Jackson Jr., my mom might be able to create a new value play. I'm just doing this right now. Anthony Edwards has my attention. And Edwards. Jaren Jackson Jr. Was there anybody else that caught my attention? Let me scroll back up here. No, not really. All right. So that's pretty good. Jaren Jackson Jr. going hard. I didn't even mean to find that one. But someone like an SGA, close game. He should play a ton of minutes. Should be able to get the points. He scored, 35 points against Memphis last time they played. SGA is just on a tear right now. He chilled a bit against Toronto, but now he's on a back-to-back. Chet's back in the lineup. So having Chet back, I don't want to touch SGA points just yet. Who knows how they try to ingratiate Chet Holmgren into the lineup. Actually, I don't even know if Chet plays today on a back-to-back. We'll see. But nothing much in that game that I'm loving. Celtics versus Knicks. I kind of told you the both Jalen plays that I'm already on. So nothing else caught my attention. Nuggets versus the Suns. I think we've got a couple of game time decisions in this one because not too many markets are available right now. I think for the Nuggets, they're potentially going to miss at least 2 players. Let me double check this shit. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, all game time decisions. And for Phoenix, Kevin Durant's a game time decision as well. So, yeah, I didn't look too heavily into that game until I know the status. Pelicans versus the Kings. Sabonis. You think about the Pelicans, you think about bigs. Sabonis should be able to eat. Hasn't been playing that well lately, though, so that's a little bit of a concern. Everyone really has a good matchup here. Zach LaVine's got a good matchup to score some points. I don't want to bet on him yet. I just need to see more data within this team. DeMar DeRozan, his matchup is probably not the best. He's got a somewhat difficult matchup. The Pels limit points in the pick and roll. They limit points at the free throw line, and they give the least points in the mid-range. So DeMar DeRozan, not the best matchup, but DeMar DeRozan scored 29 points against them last time. I did actually consider this, Jonas Valanciunas. I did consider his points and rebounds. Hit rate on it is fantastic, but then I dived a little bit deeper. He's only projected to play 12 minutes in this game. And yeah, even though he's done well against the Pelicans in the past, 19 and 13 points and rebounds, he did play 20 minutes in each of these games. So the only way he plays 20 minutes is if Domantas Sabonis plays less than 30 minutes, finds some foul trouble. Yeah, so Valanciunas probably doesn't see as much court time in order to cover it. I think it'll be good if he does get the minutes. But based on his 12 minutes, his hit rate's not really that good. So if you look at even just games at 10 to 15 minutes, look at this. Within 10 and 15 minutes, he's over this line in 4 out of 6 games, 13.5 points and rebounds. But in a lot of these games, he played 15 minutes. He's projected to only play 12 today, so it could be a little bit less. So it's a stay away from me. Let's see how this rotation goes for the Kings. Maybe if the Kings are on a back-to-back, then Valanciunas probably gets a little bit more time. But that's not happening today by the looks of it. Got Trey Murphy. I wanted to find an angle to bet on Trey Murphy because he's been doing so well. The Kings do allow a lot of points to spot up shooters, which is great, but they allow the fewest points in transition. So I was playing around in Props Madness to say, how does Trey Murphy do against the teams that allow a lot of points from spot up shooting, but they don't allow points in transition? And what I found was Trey Murphy's hit rate, not very good. It's a real recent form where he's playing well. So that's a no bet for me on Trey Murphy. I passed on that. Zion, didn't like anything I saw there. And then the last game, it's the Utah Jazz versus the Clippers. And yeah, Norm Powell is always the first person I look to. I know he's got a good hit rate. Up against Utah today, 23.5 points is the line. He's covered 1 out of 2 games against Utah. I think the key risk here is that there could be a blowout. It's a 15-point spread, and Ty Lue does not play his starters in the fourth if they're up. So that was my main hesitation. Powell's got a good matchup in hit rate. Zubac's got a good matchup in hit rate. But the blowout is what worries me. So haven't got any bets down on that yet. Who knows? I'll sleep on it. Might wake up keen as beans to get some more bets down. But we'll see. We'll see where we go. But that's a wrap on today's video, gang. I do hope you loved it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. I do wish you the best of luck. We need to bounce back. It's coming. Let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.